NeckNation, welcome to another podcast with NECKROOTS. I'm Kit James.
Austin Davis.
Thanks for being with us. Today's episode is entitled, The Way We Do Anything is the Way We Do Everything.
The way we do anything is the way we do everything, Kit.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, the first thing that came to my mind when I thought about this was pride. And I'm not talking about, thinking that you're better than somebody else. That's a bad kind of pride, NeckNation.
Right.
We don't want to be carrying that around. But pride in our outputs, pride in our work, right? Taking pride. So, if you're going to do something for somebody, you might as well do a good job,
Yep.
right? And if you're going to do something for yourself, do a good job too, right?
Do a better job.
Do a better job.
Right.
Exactly.
This is one of those things I told you, I tell the kids all the time.
Yeah.
I go into their room. If their room's a mess, I'd say, boys, look, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And really how we do anything is how we're going to do everything. And it doesn't seem like that's true because it's certain, with certain things in our life, certain situations, maybe someone's expecting us to raise the bar, rise to the occasion, and to do something for them or that's important, right?
Sure.
When it's important or titled important, it's a little bit easier to step up, raise the bar, and raise yourself to that level and to complete it. But when you look at the little things in the daily doing and the way we do anything is the way we do everything, people will challenge it, right? My kids did.
Yeah, sure.
They just like to challenge it. But
They didn't want to clean their room, brother.
I know. I get it. But have you ever opened someone's truck door or whatever, right? And you have a look-see-loo when they know they weren't supposed to be picking you up, or they told you to grab something out of their truck and they didn't know that, they couldn't prepare for that moment.
Oh, yeah.
And you see it in reality, in actuality,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
You can you can pretty much tell,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's certain things that people will deem more important than others, but NeckNation, we're talking about how we do our things, right? And we're talking about the daily doings and how does that affect the overall outcome of our life. So let's think about it. The words we say, right? The way we talk to people, ourselves, the way we do anything, right? All those little things that seem mundane and maybe not that important, they actually become the product of what our life is, right?
Absolutely.
They can become very, very important.
Yeah.
So I look at it like this. We always want to get from A to Z, right? And we want to just teleport ourselves from A to Z. Sometimes we don't want to go through all those other steps to get to where we want to be, right?
Yeah, because it takes time, right? We're all impatient by nature, right? We just want to get there.
And we're kind of conditioned to get it right now.
That's true.
We live in a right now world. Back in my day, when you wanted to find something out, hey, what's the meaning of this or that? Bro, it took a minute.
To the library you went, brother.
Yeah.
to read a book.
And I didn't even have a library card. So if it was a good book, I couldn't check it out.
Yeah, no joke.
Right? So, I mean, the thing is we want to skip past that and get right from where we're at today. And let's just take it in a year, okay, in a year's time, just so we can compartmentalize this. And we want to get to Z, right, at the end of the year. We want to be here. Yeah. So let's say it's January. We made a goal. I want to do this, or this, right? Well, the reality is January 1, we're going to give it 100%, right? We're going to do everything we can. And when people say, I'm going to give it 100%, the truth is we're going to fall short.
We do.
I mean, 100% in every little task and everything you're doing, in every action and reaction and every word you speak, everything you say or is said to you, right?
Throughout your day,
you're going to give it 100%.
Yeah, that's that's impossible.
Right. So we're going to fall short. And then when we fall short, we end up giving up. So it's almost like setting an attainable goal. But I'll promise you, it's true. Look at the things in your life, right? I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's relationships, the way you handle your career, your job, the attitude that you go about, all those little things, even, your room, keeping your room clean, your truck organized. I mean, I'm a freak. I got to know where the red pen and the blue pen is in my truck. Right.
Right.
You don't have to be like that, right?
No, you don't have to be that OCD.
No, you don't have to take the labels in the refrigerator and make sure they're all facing the same way. That's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about our action, reaction, and the things that we're doing that we don't even think about. I mean, we do them so often, so much. We go through the routine that it becomes habit.
Yeah.
And it becomes a routine. It's just muscle memory, right?
It is.
So we don't pay attention to little things because we always think in our lives the big things are what count, or the big things are what matter. When someone's relying on me to do this, or this for them, I've got to, rise to the occasion and pull through. Or even if it's like we just said, setting a goal, right? You can't expect to do 100% every day, but you can expect, and this is why we break these things down, Austin, when we come in here and do this, is because you can do 1%. What if we said 1% better every day?
That's attainable.
Right?
That's
just one,
absolutely doable.
Yeah. We think about what we're saying to someone. We control our short fuse, which Lord knows I got one.
Yeah.
And maybe we don't react as fast. We count to 3 and then we react. But
yeah.
Whatever it is, we do 1% better tomorrow, right? Each day than we were the day before.
Yeah.
There's 365 days in a year. That means 365% better that year if we did 1% better each day.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if we break it down like that, it's going to be better than the trying to give 100% every day, because you tally those numbers up unless you're just absolutely wicked disciplined and you do it, right?
Yeah.
And there's certain things, that people are disciplined about. But when you change one thing, you change everything. When I'm doing business or contracts or whatever, when one line item changes, when one thing changes, everything changes.
Everything, yeah.
And it's the same in your life. When one thing changes, everything can change for better
or for worse. Yeah.
So it is a momentum scale, but I look at that A to Z that we try to avoid, all that stuff in the middle that we try to avoid, and we just want to be like this guy or like that guy, or we want to be there. I wish this and I wish that and I hope this and I hope that. Forget about it. Let's do 1% better each day, because that stuff in the middle is that's the juice, man.
Yeah.
That gap is the juice.
Yeah. And you know what? There are some things in our life where if you look at it and you're like, I'm going to do 100% better tomorrow, like you're already discouraged, right? Just in saying those words to yourself. I think about like relationships, maybe the relationship with your significant other, your spouse or whatever isn't the greatest, right? And to say tomorrow I'm going to do 100% better, well, there's no way. There's no way you're going to do 100% better tomorrow. But if you can improve on that a little by little over time, especially if you're working on that over a year and you sit down with that other person and have the discussion with them, right? And you guys are working on it together, then great things are achieved in short time.
Right.
Great things are achieved in short time.
You just don't notice them as much until you look back.
Yeah,
and see where you've been and where you've come from and how much you've progressed.
Yep.
But in that gap that we try to avoid, I mean, that's the experiences. Those are the conversations. When you go on a lunch break with somebody, it doesn't seem like that important, right?
Right.
All those conversations, those relationships, those daily doings, the things that we're doing right now, NeckNation, if we just be conscious and aware, dude, that gap is not worth avoiding, because that gap actually equals the Z. If we went from and just catapulted from A to where we want to be, which is Z, there would be no Z, because that gap is where the juice is, and that juice makes Z possible, right?
Well, and we've talked about growth before, and where does growth happen?
Yeah.
Growth happens in the pressure, and you can't get rid of the pressure.
No.
You can't just go from 1 to 100.
No, it happens in the gap. So
yeah.
So as we're sitting here talking about it, you think of some of the words come to mind are commitment, right? You got to be committed. To do anything, you got to be committed. The other word that goes along with commitment is sacrifice. That comes to mind.
Sure.
Well, when you look up the word sacrifice, it means sacred, something sacred, right? And so when you think of the word commitment, it feels like, man, what am I giving up? What am I sacrificing, to meet this commitment to do 1% better, right? And maybe it is something you want to give up, right? Maybe it's a bad habit you want to give up, which is great. But what I always told my wife when she needs some new threads, right, or something new in the closet, I say, hey, out with the old, in with the new.
Yeah.
All right. I'm glad she doesn't use that rule on boots, or we'd be in trouble.
No kidding.
Them boots are for church and those ones are for work.
Yeah.
That's different.
Old boots still have good use.
Yep, they're different. But really, we have to give something up. And when you think of the word sacrifice, meaning a sacred placeholder, it makes that commitment just a little bit easier. It makes giving that thing up a little bit easier, because what you're going to plug into that is sacred.
Yeah.
So what are you trying to accomplish? What do you want to do better at? And just know, hey, you know what? Train your brain. You're not giving it up.
Yeah.
It's becoming, that's a sacred placeholder for what's to become, right?
Exactly.
And so it kind of puts it in perspective. But I think about when one thing changes, everything changes. And the truth to that is, I mean, just on a written document, it's true. Like if you put out your terms on a document, you're buying a company or doing whatever, when you change one aspect of that relationship or acquisition or agreement, you change all of it.
Oh, sure.
It's not just one section. You're going to call out one section. But in your life, when you say, you know what, I'm just going to work on my attitude, that one thing will affect your health, your well, it'll affect all of it.
It'll impact everything, your relationships.
Yeah.
It'll impact the way you interact with yourself,
Absolutely.
too, right? Your attitude dictates how you treat yourself. And that's what we talk about all the time here, Neck Nation, is how are we treating ourselves? And I think, Kit, this how you do anything is how you do everything gives us an opportunity to sit back and reflect, right? There's some important questions that need to be asked when we listen to that phrase or when we take that phrase to heart, right? So, I mean, how, Neck Nation, how are you doing things? And evaluate that. And are you happy with how you're doing them? And if you're not happy with how you're doing them, right, here's the chance, here's the change, here's the opportunity for 1% better, right?
Yep, it's an opportunity. And you bring up a good point because it's a lot like a mirror. I mean, when you look in the mirror and you see the reflection, you might be having a bad hair day. You might have chose the wrong hat that don't match your shorts or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Right? But that reflection doesn't lie. So it's really good to be honest with yourself and reflect, like what you were saying. And there's some hard truths, man. There's some truth bombs in this conversation.
For sure.
Because I'm telling you right now, Neck Nation, if there's an issue in a relationship, there's issues otherwhere. I mean, it just spreads. It's everywhere.
Yep.
It doesn't stay I'm in the relationship stage. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then we get into this conscious habit of our daily doing, and we say, hey, you know what? This thing that I'm doing is not that important, so I'll just put it off. And when it becomes important or I got to get it done, then I'll get it done then.
Yeah.
And what that does is it spreads to other aspects of your life. And then all of a sudden, without even knowing it, right? Subconsciously, you're living a mediocre life, and you don't even know it.
Everything lost priority without you even knowing about it.
Man, awareness is so important. Paying attention and looking in that mirror and reflecting on how am I doing things. I'm glad you brought that up. It's so important because, I mean, you hear the mirror on the wall, right?
Oh yeah.
When it comes to how we do things, right, and how we do everything, we need to do a mirror on the wall every once in a while.
We do. And I love what you said, that there's some hard truths. There's some truth bombs, right? Sometimes we're going to have to look in the mirror and we're not going to like what we see. And we just need to know that that's a possibility. But what we also need to know in those situations is what we just talked about. There's opportunity for change. This is opportunity for change, this evaluation. How are you doing things, Neck Nation? Really? Yeah. And how does it make you feel when you hear that phrase? You know, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? Yeah. And pay attention to how that makes you feel.
Well, yeah. What emotions does it bring up?
Sure.
Right? Pay attention to those emotions. When you really, really, really contemplate it, like Austin said, and you think, how am I doing the little things and the daily doings? And how does that affect the way I do everything across the map? Because it does.
Yeah.
I don't care how much you say, no, this one's not that important. So I'm just kind of doing it mediocre. But these things over here, a date night with the wife and blah, 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 it's important. Oh, forget about it, dude. It bleeds into every aspect of your life. And so it's something good. I mean, I just said that because I'd say whatever to the kids. But when you sit and think about it, and this episode's titled that, it's deep.
It is.
And it requires some deep thought, deep reflection, and to ask yourself the questions that you just asked, right? Because the other thing that I think about as we talk through this, those habits, the things that we do every day. So if we do them mediocre or we don't feel like it's important, because a big event, everyone prepares for a big event, getting married, whatever it is, anniversary,
graduating from school, whatever,
a big test, a big job interview. Those are big events in our life. And we're not going to drop the ball on those big things, right?
No,
I mean,
we're going to pay attention to them. We're going to give them priority, right?
right. And so all the little things that lead up to that event, we might be able to procrastinate and put them off and maybe be mediocre on those. But the truth is, if you want to see the true value of somebody, their character, who they are, what are their values, right? And this is a question we have to ask ourselves as well. How am I doing? How am I doing on those little things? Because when nobody's watching, when no one's paying attention, and you're just coasting through over here because, right, someone's gone or whatever it is, or you don't feel it's that important, that's the anythings. That's the way you do anything. And it does affect the everything.
Yeah.
It really does.
The little things add up to the big things, right? The way you do the small things is the way you do the big things. In fact, you know what? There was a talk or a speech given by General McRaven a couple years ago, right? And this is just coming to my mind right now. And he started off his talk by telling everybody, and this was like a graduation speech or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what the circumstance was. I just remember hearing the speech a while ago. But he says the first thing that you do in the morning is you make your bed.
Right.
Right? The very first thing you do before you do anything else is you make your bed. And he says, that's one win. One feather in your cap for the day. And you started your day off with a win. But really, what it is it's doing the small things.
Yeah.
The small things that you think are insignificant and don't matter, right? They add up because that is going to translate to how you do the big things.
Yep.
And whether you think it has an impact or not, like we talk about these big things are important and we'll give them priority and, we're going to make sure we do a good job on those. But really, we could do a way better job on those big things if we give the small things the same amount of priority.
You're right. And we're not going to have a big thing every single day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're here and there and far and few and in between. But the reality is we live the majority of our life doing those little things that we don't even consciously think about. And the way we do them becomes a habit. And I'm telling you, men form habits, and then habits form men.
That's deep, brother.
Right? So we have to think about that. Those little things that we're just kind of going about, maybe doing it halfway or whatever, because it's not as important, or your mind's somewhere else, or whatever it is. It's important to be there in that moment. And when we focus on it and really look at it, it brings us to the now. Like, what are we doing right now? If you have to do that mundane chore or whatever, because it's part of your job or it's just something that has to be done, we might as well tune it up right and do it right. Because, like you said, when you make your bed in the morning, that affects everything you do. I mean, there truly is a battle inside of us. It rages, and we don't even realize it, but we're our own worst enemy in this regard. And we'll say, oh, this isn't that important, so we'll go halfway. Or, hey, you know what? I don't have time to make my bed today. It shouldn't affect the rest of your day, but it does.
It will.
You know what I mean? Because
whether
you're the person that makes the bed or not, I mean, if your wife's still asleep when you leave, okay, I get it. But completing something in the morning is important. But the way we talk to ourselves in the morning or throughout the day is just as important as well, because that's where those habits come from. That's where that programming comes from. And what's interesting is there's a battle going on inside of us, and that is if we get up in the morning and go, oh man, I got up on the wrong side of the bed. Bro, guess how the rest of your day is going to be?
It's going to be just like that, man.
Yeah, you got all these million people over here working on this side of your brain, and they're going, did you hear that, boys? Boss said it's going to be one of them days.
Yeah.
And you're like, and they go to work, and they make sure it's one of those days.
They do.
And then if you get up and say, man, I'm grateful to be here, and it's going to be a freaking good day. Even if it's just a normal everyday day, guess what happens? The foreman on this other side of your brain goes, boys, you hear that?
It's get to work. A good day.
Boss said it's going to be a good day, so they're busy working, putting a good day together.
Yeah.
I mean, your mind's powerful, and that's how it works. So we do got to pay attention to those things,
We do.
We can say, frick, I ain't going to wash my truck, because guess what? I checked the forecast, and there's 20% chance of rain. Well, there's 20% chance of you measuring up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think about it. Those little things equal the big things, and we spend more time doing the little things than we do the big things. So what are the little things? They're actually the big things.
They do. They add up to the big things.
And they're habit forming. So habits do equal our future. And so you can take another look at it with a magnifying glass or however we need to and say, uh-oh, I need to change my future. I got to change my daily doing. I got to change my habits. I got to change the way I'm looking at these little things.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And this is one of those times where when you look back, right, we talked about doing the 1% better every day.
Yeah.
And then we're trying to get from A to Z, or you're trying to get from day 1 to day 365 if you're doing this in a year. And at that time when you arrive there, now we've talked about how we never really arrive because we're always striving to be better, but you can develop that "how do you like me now" attitude,
Yeah.
right? You've heard that song,
Oh,
Toby
yeah.
Keith, "How do you
Oh,
like
yeah.
me now?"
Yeah.
Right? So as you improve and do that 1% better every day, or as you take pride in your work and your work outputs become better or higher quality, or your relationships become better, or the way that you communicate with people becomes, better, right? How do you like me now?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And take some pride. I mean, there is something to be proud about. Not unrighteous indignation, horrible pride, but if you accomplish something, if you improve yourself, man, something to
Celebrate
be
it.
proud of.
Celebrate
it.
Yep. When you do something, and someone comes up to you and says, "Man, Austin, I can't believe you finished that race in the top 5 or whatever. That was a very competitive race." What are we also programmed to do? Go, "Oh, it's no big deal," or whatever, or "Oh, yeah, thanks. I'm gonna finish first in the next one," or whatever. No, dude, celebrate it.
Celebrate.
If your best is 159th place, freaking get the pom poms out, dude. Celebrate it.
No joke. Yeah.
Right? We spend enough time beating ourselves up. We ought to throw us an attaboy,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Give us a pat on the rear end, say good game, at least.
At the
Right?
very least.
So it's important. Those little things are so big, and you know what? When you realize that 1% a day and 365 days in a year equals 365% better in 1 year, you start realizing how powerful just that little bit makes a big difference.
It
right?
does.
So the little things that we're doing every day, let's not call them little, right? If someone calls me little, I'm gonna say, you know what? Call me little one more time.
No, you would.
That's for another story, another day.
Another day.
But let's maybe we shouldn't call these little things, honestly,
Yeah.
because they all rolled up together equal the majority of our life, and they identify who we are when we see that reflection in the mirror,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So it's super important,
Yeah.
right? So I got a story.
Oh, let's hear it.
It's freaking story time, dude.
It's story time, brother.
And this one's a child's story, but it's good.
Okay.
So there's a group of frogs. They're going on a little field trip, and they're motoring down the pathway and walkway. And every once in a while, frogs they get curious and they look for water, little ponds here and there to moisten up the skin, whatever.
Sure.
Right. So they come up on this well, and bro, there's 2 frogs. They didn't even look in the well. They just right inside. Right. They knew it was a well, so they just motored right in. Well, it was dry, so they fell all the way down. Right. So these other frogs that were at the top, they're looking in there and they're like, "Dude, I don't know how we're going to get you 2 frogs out of there."
Yeah.
And so they tried to find something. They tried to do all these things to get these 2 frogs out, and they couldn't figure it out. They're like, "Dude, you know what?" These friends weren't very good friends. They're like, "You're just going to die down there. There's no way."
Just
And
give
so
up.
these frogs freak out, these 2 frogs, and they start jumping. And the 3 frogs or 4 frogs that were up on top, they were looking over the edge going, "Dude, stop. You're not going to make it. Don't go through expending all that energy and jumping and jumping and jumping. Just die peacefully, be done."
Yeah.
Right? Go out in a little bit of rest, save your energy, tell each other something, get some things off your chest and check out.
Yeah.
And so eventually the one frog did. He's like, "Yeah, dude, this a lot of times passed. It's hopeless. We've tried everything." He checked out. He died. Right? The other frog, bro, he was not stopping. He was jumping and giving it everything he got and then some.
Yeah.
Right? And they're yelling at him going, "Bro, look, he died peacefully." Right? He just realized that program was over and you need to give up. And he didn't give up. He kept jumping and pushed harder and harder and would take a break and then do it again and again. And they're yelling at him now. I mean, they're leaned all the way over saying, bro, stop, just die. I get it over with. So the last jump, he finally just musters up enough and he barely makes it. And he jumps out of the well. And they're like, bro, could you not hear us? I mean, did you not hear our voices? We're up here telling you, pack it in, dude. Just die. Be done already.
Yeah.
And he explained to him, not by talking, but explained to him, he's like, I'm deaf.
Yeah.
I thought you guys were cheering me on, right? I thought you were like getting behind me and telling me you can do it. I didn't know you were saying just die. I'm deaf. I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
I just saw you up there making a ruckus, and it just motivated me to keep trying. So the moral of the story is lots of things. Be careful who you listen to.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, absolutely.
And how you react to. But the other thing is our words that we say that come out of our mouth, whether we're talking to somebody else or to ourselves, are a matter of life and death. And that's the real moral of the story. And think about all the things we say and how we react during the day. Think of the things we tell ourselves. If we're to be 1% better tomorrow, right? And if we're to be better tomorrow in any way, shape, or form, and the how on the anythings as well as the everythings, we got to be real cautious about the words that come out of our mouth, what we're programming our minds to tell ourselves, and what we're telling ourselves, because it is a matter of life or death. I mean, we got enough problems as it is. So if we're going to raise the bar and raise our standard, let's start with just, that 1%. Maybe that 1% is the way we talk to ourselves and some of the things that we say out loud. Because if you want to know what someone's thinking, listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely, Kit. That's a great story. And I love that, right? We've got to evaluate how we talk to ourselves. In fact, NeckNation, we got to evaluate how we do things, right? How we do all things, how we do our jobs, how we do our relationships, how we do on our self-talk. Everything needs to be evaluated. So let's take this opportunity now, NeckNation, to do that evaluation. And if you don't like what you see, change it. And if you like what you see, celebrate it.
Yep.
Give yourself some kudos. But I guarantee you, if you keep looking, there'll be things that you can improve on. So let's become 1% better every day and become 365% better in a year, NeckNation. And if you like what you've heard today, be sure to like and subscribe to the video. The more you like and subscribe, the more people we can reach. Also follow us on the social media. We got Facebook, we got Instagram. We're on there. We post things all the time, some good content, some good little videos, some redneck videos or neck videos anyway.
Yep.
Also, if you like the hats and the gear that we're wearing, we've got some stuff on NECKROOTS.com. So go check it out if you're interested. But for now, bless up, NeckNation.
Bless up, NeckNation. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.